a lot of time on personal information about myself, I do want to just talk about the free jewelry. One of the things our agency is very involved in is the kindness revolution. And this is kind of self-explanatory. When somebody does something nice to you, say thank you and give this away. Now, I have more, so every week when you come back, if you are out of these blue bands, just let me know. We would like to make Memphis a kinder place, one person at a time. Now, on to making you uncomfortable. I'm an insurance agent with Allstate for 27 years, and I did the math. I've been in BNI half of my career. For those of you who are considering it, I can't say enough good about it. I'm going to be sending out a very brief PowerPoint via internet, but what I'm doing today is I would like to introduce you to the 5 biggest insurance mistakes you can make. Now that sounds negative, and I'm really a very positive, upbeat person, but I have 2 goals. I want everyone in this room to be properly insured. So that's important. When you get home, pull out that declaration sheet. I brought pen and paper made by Bruce Orbit, and I want you to take notes so that you can look at your own insurance declaration sheet and make sure you're properly insured. The first mistake that people make is they confuse the big dollars with little dollars. Now, if you go out and buy yourself a $50,000 vehicle, to you, at that moment, that is big dollars, but it's not really. If you look at your declaration sheet, you can draw a line midway. Anything to do with liability, those are the big dollars. Collision income, those are the small dollars. And I'm not talking about what it costs for those coverages. I'm talking about the cost in your personal life. If you goof up and you don't have the right collision and comp, you take full coverage off of a vehicle and the next day it gets stolen, that hurts, ouch. But you'll recover. But if you make a mistake above in the big dollar category, that's a life changer. Your life may never be the same. Now, in our state, insurance is mandatory, but we tend to have a lot of people ignore that law here in Memphis, Tennessee. $25.50 is the minimum legal amount of liability. That's the minimum. But let me ask you this. If you're involved in a car accident and you're disabled, can't work again, is $25,000 enough? If you have a child in the back seat of the car and you get severely rear-ended and that child's going to need medical attention for the rest of their life, is $25,000 enough? If $25,000 is not enough to satisfy you, why in the world would you carry $25.50? And I see it all the time. I had a customer last week buying a $450,000 house and was very smug that he had cheap auto insurance. That house could be lost in a heartbeat. So I challenge you, when you get home, look at your liability coverage. Your liability coverage should exceed your assets. So if you're worth $500,000, do the math. You should have at least $500,000 worth of liability coverage. Another thing you can do is purchase an umbrella. And an umbrella is a legal coverage, liability coverage above your regular underlying policies. And here's what I love about umbrellas. Other people sell them for me. People like Mark Ruhlman, Rob Trawn, anybody who does tax advising or financial advising. They often will say, I want to lead you to the path of wealth, but let's first protect what you've worked so hard to earn. So I encourage you to consider getting an umbrella. Okay, moving on. The second biggest mistake is hiring new drivers. Now, everybody cringes when they think about a 16-year-old being added to the policy. But think of this. Every time you hand your keys over to a 16-year-old, your assets, everything you own, are in the trunk of that car. Pretty staggering, isn't it? Okay, think of this. Think of having a 16-year-old and you go, I'm not going to let him drive, so I'm not going to let the insurance company know that I have a 16-year-old driver. Now that 16-year-old driver is out there with all your assets in the back of their car. And if they have an accident, the insurance company can deny it. You did not let them know about a significant change in risk. in your household. Add those 16-year-olds. In fact, have the 16-year-old call the agent. If your 16-year-old cannot get a hold of you and they have an accident, I may be the second most important person for them to call. Getting insurance is a very grown-up thing, and it would be very good to have your 16-year-old do it themselves. The third biggest accident, not knowing what to do. Third biggest mistake, not knowing what to do in an accident. When you have an accident, do not admit guilt, even if you think you're guilty. We are a comparative negligence state, which means nobody's usually 100% at fault or 100% not at fault. Let the insurance companies duke it out. You don't have to say it was all my mistake. Another thing you want to do with our smartphones, take a picture of the license plate. Now the damage, sure, but the license plate in particular. The way the law works is whoever's name the car is titled in, they're responsible, not necessarily the driver. And sometimes people don't tell the truth when they're confronted, but that license plate is going to tell you who you need to contact. Number 4, not bundling. You know, I like Flo. I like most of Progressive's commercials. But when Flo says it's good to bundle, it is. Not just for the financial that it will do for you, not just getting the discount. But the more policies you have with an insurance company, the more they will tolerate claims. If we have a customer that's had a couple claims in the last 3 years, an underwriter's going to look at it and go, I don't know if we want to continue with this customer. But if they also have their auto policy with us, and that's been performing well, the underwriter may give them another chance. And I fight for my customers. If I'm about to lose a customer, I will fight tooth and nail to keep the policy. And by having more than one policy, that gives us some leverage with an underwriter. And number 5, that last biggest mistake is thinking that insurance is a commodity. You are making one of the biggest financial decisions in your life when you put together your policies. Do you really want a 1-800 number? An hourly person going, oh, you want to save some money, why don't you reduce your liability insurance? And that has happened already. So you need to think of your agent as your advocate. You need to do a review with your agent. You need to call your agent when you have a claim. Don't call a 1-800 number. Talk to your agent and find out if you truly have a claim and what the financial repercussions will be if you put that claim out there. You are use them as an advocate. You know, I really like to have a warm, good relationship with my clients, and I've told this story before. Insurance is not a commodity, but I had this customer, a pilot, who just let me know from the get-go he didn't like my insurance and didn't particularly like me. But we did what was right for this gentleman, and then one Friday night at 5:30 he called me, and I could tell he had been crying. This guy had a 16-year-old birthday party at his house, and one of the guests had fallen on her neck and had left his house in an ambulance. At that moment, he liked me. Because what I was able to tell him was because he had been insured properly, because he had an umbrella in place, his life was not going to change. He would keep his house, his kids would go to college, no matter the outcome of that accident. So I think it's very important that you all know that there are good agents out there, whether you're insured with me or not, please check your declaration sheet. And if you refer business to me, that's part of the process. To go over the declaration sheet, make sure these new customers are properly insured. Any questions? Yes?
Do you recommend earthquake insurance?
You know, earthquake insurance, you would think everybody in the world would have earthquake insurance in Memphis, Tennessee, wouldn't you? The truth of the matter is, it is a small percentage of people that take earthquake. And the reason is the deductible. It's not the price. I did a quote a couple weeks ago, a $115,000 house was $103 a year. Not a terrible price for earthquake. The problem is the deductible. We happen to offer a 15% deductible. At some companies it's a 20 or 25%. So if you have a $200,000 house and the insurance company doesn't pay anything till you hit $50,000, that discourages a lot of people. Thank you very much.